Most people wake up every day and go straight into reaction mode. The alarm goes off, and within minutes, they're checking emails, scrolling social media, running through the chaos of their to-do list. They don't own their morning, they survive it, and then they wonder why they feel stressed, scattered, or like they're always a few steps behind. That was me, driven, ambitious, constantly moving, but still feeling like something was off. Like no matter how hard I pushed, there was this invisible wall between where I was and where I knew I could be. The problem wasn't effort, it wasn't time, it was state. The way I started my day was silently shaping everything else. So I decided to go all in. I committed to a mental priming exercise every single morning for 30 days. Not occasionally, not when it felt convenient. Every single day, and I didn't do it half-heartedly. I approached it like a ritual, like it was non-negotiable, because I wanted to see what would happen if I stopped letting the world dictate my state and started conditioning it myself. Let me tell you something. When you begin your day by shifting your emotional state on purpose, when you breathe with intensity, flood your mind with gratitude, rehearse your vision, feel your future before it's even real, you rewire the way you think, the way you act, the way you feel. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop playing small and start showing up like the version of you that already exists inside, waiting to be unleashed. Most people live as if their emotional state is a byproduct of their environment. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and they're angry. They get an email from their boss, and now they're anxious. A friend forgets to reply to a message, and suddenly they're insecure. They go through their day reacting to stress, reacting to noise, reacting to other people's moods, other people's urgency, other people's energy. And they wonder why they feel off-center, why they can't focus, why success always feels one step out of reach. But here's the truth. Your emotional state is not random. It's not some invisible current you're forced to swim through. Your emotional state is a decision. You don't wait for confidence to show up. You generate it. You don't wait to feel calm. You condition it. You don't hope for motivation to hit you like lightning. You create it from within. That's what separates people who lead their lives from those who are led by life. The people who achieve real breakthroughs, mentally, physically, financially, they've learned that state comes first, not strategy, not time, not even talent. State is the foundation, because when your state is off, your decisions are off. Your standards drop, your energy is inconsistent, but when your state is strong, you lead, you execute. You rise in the face of uncertainty. You wake up tired and the mind starts to spiral. Why am I so drained? I don't feel like doing this. That inner dialogue becomes your reality. Unless you interrupt it, unless you say, no, I decide how I feel today. I decide how I show up. You move your body with energy. You change your breathing. You put on music that lifts you. You speak to yourself differently. You shift your focus. And when you stack those changes, your state follows. It has to. Because your physiology, your language, and your focus. Those three things are the levers of emotion. You shift those and everything else follows. People think they need to change their circumstances to feel better. If I just get this done. If I finally hit this goal. But the truth is, most people hit their goals and still feel empty. Because they never learn to master their state. The outside achievement doesn't create the inner fulfillment. It's the other way around. The more you build your internal state, the more you magnetize results on the outside. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Because your energy changed, because you walked into rooms differently, you spoke with certainty, you carried yourself like someone who already won, even before the results showed up. The challenge is most people only change their state when life forces them to. When they hit rock bottom, when the pain becomes unbearable, then they finally stand up and say enough. But what if you didn't wait? What if you conditioned that power every day before the crisis? What if you primed your nervous system to fire confidence, clarity, and focus on command? That's what state mastery looks like. It's not a one-time decision. It's not a once-a-week meditation. It's a practice. It's discipline. It's the commitment to lead yourself every single day, regardless of how you feel when you wake up. because feelings are temporary, but identity is built. And when you decide to become the kind of person who owns their state, no matter what's happening around you, you stop playing defense, you stop giving power to things outside of your control, you reclaim your edge. You build emotional stamina, you lead with intention. Not every day will be easy, not every moment will feel great, but that's not the point. The point is you stop waiting for perfect conditions. You become the condition. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the emotional tone, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. And here's the magic. You don't need hours to do this. You need a few focused minutes each morning. You need breath, movement, gratitude, and vision. You need to interrupt the default. You need to stop letting yesterday's mood sneak into today, because the brain loves patterns. And if you don't interrupt the negative ones, they repeat. They grow, but if you disrupt them, consistently, intentionally, you train your nervous system to choose power over fear, focus over stress, clarity over chaos. And the more you choose that, the easier it gets. The faster you bounce back, the more natural it becomes. Most people think their focus and energy are fixed traits. They say things like, I'm just not a morning person, or I can't concentrate for long, or my brain's always racing. And because they believe that story, they live inside it. They repeat it, rehearse it, and it becomes their identity. But what they don't realize is that focus and energy are skills, just like anything else, and those skills are built through consistency, not hype, and not inspiration, not willpower that fades after a few days. Consistency is what carves new neural grooves into your brain. It's what rewires how you feel, how you think, and how you act under pressure. Mental priming isn't about doing something one time and expecting fireworks. It's not about trying it on a random Sunday and expecting your whole mindset to transform. It's about repetition. It's about training your nervous system every single day to lock into the energy and mindset that serves you, not the one you default to. And that's where most people fall short. They want the transformation, but they don't want the discipline. They want the change, but they resist the routine. But success isn't born from intensity once in a while. It's born from what you do consistently, especially when you don't feel like it. When you prime your mind daily, when you condition gratitude, strength, vision, confidence, you start to create new emotional baselines. You shift from reacting to stress to commanding your state. You walk into the day already winning because you've already elevated your internal world before the external world even speaks. That daily choice to show up for yourself before anything else is the foundation of self-leadership. Because no one's coming to do it for you. No one's going to show up at 6 a.m. and hand you certainty, focus, or drive. That's your job. And the way you take ownership of it is through consistency. You can't build a strong body going to the gym once a week. You can't master a language by practicing occasionally. And you sure as hell can't master your mindset if you only work on it when life feels easy. It's the repetition that reshapes you. It's showing up on the days you don't feel like it, and doing it anyway. That's where the rewiring happens. That's where your identity shifts. You stop being someone who tries to be focused. And you become someone who is focused because you've trained it, you've lived it. You've earned it. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's not about doing everything right every time. It's about refusing to negotiate with the old version of yourself. The version that wants to sleep in, scroll endlessly, doubt everything, and stay small. Every time you do the mental priming work, every time you breathe with intensity, lock into gratitude, visualize your outcomes, you're voting against that old self. You're strengthening the neural networks of clarity, intention, and belief. You're teaching your brain what to prioritize, and the more you do it, the faster it responds, the faster it locks in, because your brain is always listening, always learning, and repetition is the language it speaks. Here's the real truth. You don't need more information. You need more integration. You need more reps. More mornings where you take 5, 10, 15 minutes to train your mind before the world trains it for you. That's how you stay grounded when everything around you is chaotic. That's how you stay driven when everyone else is distracted. Because you've practiced it. Because you've lived it. Because it's not theory to you. It's part of who you are. Most people wait until they're drowning in overwhelm to search for clarity. They wait until burnout hits to prioritize their state. But by then, it's reactive. The key is to be proactive, to condition the mindset that keeps you centered, focused, and powerful before the chaos arrives. And that's where consistency becomes your competitive edge. Because while everyone else is waking up and getting pulled into the noise, you've already done the work. You've already activated your highest self. And that version of you doesn't panic, doesn't spiral, doesn't fall back into old patterns. It's not about doing it perfectly. It's about doing it relentlessly, because every rep counts. Every repetition of breathing into power, every moment of visualizing the life you're building, every second of gratitude you flood into your nervous system. It all stacks, and eventually that stack becomes your standard. That standard becomes your identity, and that identity becomes your automatic. You're no longer chasing focus or energy. You're living inside it because you built it, because you conditioned it, because you didn't just try it, you became it. Most people live in a fog. They're busy but not clear. They're active but not aligned. They chase goals that don't even belong to them. Goals shaped by pressure, by expectation, by what they think they should do. And because there's no clarity behind the action, there's no energy behind the execution. They wake up already exhausted, already reactive, already scattered. That mental noise, the overwhelm, the doubt, the second guessing, it's not because they're lazy or broken. It's because they're unclear, because they haven't taken the time to connect with why they're doing what they're doing in the first place. Clarity is power. It cuts through chaos. It silences the inner chatter. It gives your brain something to lock onto. Because your brain is always asking one thing: what matters now? What should I focus on right now? And if you don't give it an answer, it will default to what's urgent, what's loud, what's easy. That's why people end up scrolling for hours, jumping between tasks, quitting halfway. It's not a discipline problem, it's a clarity problem. They don't have a clear target, so their energy gets divided. And divided energy creates doubt, procrastination, and burnout. When you have clarity of purpose, you eliminate 90% of the decisions you used to struggle with. You don't need to debate what to do next. You already know. You don't chase motivation. You've got direction. Your brain stops wasting energy trying to figure out what matters. It knows what matters, and because of that, you can go all in. You can lock in, shut out distractions, and push with full intensity. Because there's no confusion draining your power. Confusion is the enemy of execution. Clarity is the fuel of momentum. Clarity also removes emotional friction. Without clarity, every obstacle feels heavier. Every setback feels personal. Every detour feels like a failure. But when you're clear, those same challenges become part of the path. They don't rattle you, they refine you. You expect them, you learn from them, because the mission is bigger than the moment. The clarity of your purpose turns adversity into fuel. It doesn't make the road easier, it makes you stronger. You stop looking for perfect conditions and you start trusting the process because you know where you're going. That knowing becomes your anchor. And clarity doesn't come from thinking more. It comes from simplifying. It comes from asking better questions. Who do I want to become? What do I value most? What am I building? What would I do if I wasn't afraid? What would it look like if it were easy? These questions strip away the noise. They reconnect you to your vision. Not your distractions, not your limitations, not your fears. The more you ask, the more the fog clears. The more you journal, visualize, speak your vision into existence, the more certain you become. And certainty is a superpower. When you get clear, your physiology shifts. You stand taller. You breathe deeper. You walk with intent. That's not a coincidence. That's alignment. That's your nervous system recognizing direction and responding with energy. Your body always knows when you're aligned. That's why people who are on fire for their mission don't burn out. They may get tired, but they don't quit, because their clarity creates resilience. It gives their brain a reason to keep going when it gets hard. That's what you're missing if you're constantly distracted. It's not focus tricks or hacks, it's purpose. And when you're connected to that purpose, focus becomes natural. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a clear outcome, a compelling reason, a vision that excites you and scares you. That's the edge, because when your vision is clear, the work becomes sacred. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop shrinking your dreams to fit your current comfort zone. Instead, you expand your habits to match your future identity. You wake up with a mission, not just a list, and that mission calls you to rise, to execute, to lead, not from pressure, but from alignment, from truth. That's what clarity does. It rewires your standards. It lifts your baseline. It makes average unacceptable. You start showing up like the person you're becoming, not the one you've been. And the more you live inside that identity, the more your world shifts. Not because of magic, but because you finally got clear on what matters and you stopped giving your energy to what doesn't. You stopped chasing everything and started focusing on one thing. And in a world of distraction, that kind of focus is rare. That kind of purpose is magnetic. That kind of alignment is unstoppable. We all say we don't have enough time. That's the story most people live in. I'm too busy. There's not enough hours in the day. I wish I had more time. But the truth is, time isn't the issue, state is. Because when your state is low, everything takes longer. You sit down to work and you spin in circles. You overthink. You second. Guess. You avoid the hard stuff and bury yourself in the easy stuff. But when you shift your state, when you access energy, focus, certainty, you get more done in 1 hour than most people do in a whole day. It's not about the clock. It's about the clarity and power you're bringing into each moment. You've probably had days where you felt on fire, like nothing could stop you. You were locked in, focused, powerful. Time felt like it bent in your favor. You crushed tasks. You made moves. You made decisions without hesitation. That wasn't a fluke. That was a state, and you can access that on demand, but most people don't train it. They rely on external circumstances to feel good, the weather, the traffic, the mood of other people. And because they let the external world dictate their internal world, they never feel in control. They wait to feel like working instead of deciding to lead their state and act from it. You don't need a perfect calendar. You need control over your emotions, because even with a perfect plan, if your state is off, you won't follow through. You'll hesitate. You'll distract yourself. You'll find reasons to postpone. But when your state is sharp, you don't need motivation. You don't need someone cheering you on. You become the force that moves everything forward. You become the fire starter. That's the difference between high performers and those stuck in loops. They've trained themselves to take control of their internal environment. They understand that if they can own their state, they can own their day. Energy is not something you wait for. It's something you generate. You move your body. You shift your breath. You put yourself into a peak mental and physical condition because you choose to. Because you've decided that how you feel isn't up for negotiation. You don't wait for a good mood to show up. You build it. You sculpt it. You wire it in through daily rituals that ignite your physiology and focus your mind. That's how you collapse time. That's how you turn hours of delay into minutes of decisive action. It starts with the decision to stop being a slave to your feelings and start becoming the leader of your emotional world. And here's what most people don't understand. Your state doesn't just affect your productivity. It affects your decisions, your relationships, your creativity, your leadership. When you're in a powerful state, you see opportunity where others see stress. You move toward challenges instead of avoiding them. You lead conversations with confidence. You inspire people. You make faster, smarter choices. Not because you're more intelligent, but because you're not clogged up with fear, hesitation, or insecurity. Your state clears the channel between your potential and your performance. You've got to make it non-negotiable to get into that powerful state before you take action. Don't just dive into your day reactive. Don't just roll out of bed and check your phone. Take the time to prime your body, your breath, your mind. Get intentional. Activate the emotions that serve your goals. Courage, gratitude, drive, clarity. When you lead with state, you stop wasting energy battling yourself. You stop leaking energy on things that don't matter. You conserve your power for what counts, and that efficiency, that sharpness, that's what lets you accomplish in 2 hours what others stretch across 12. People who say they're always busy are usually misaligned. They're chasing too many things. They haven't clarified what matters most. They haven't trained their focus. They haven't trained their emotions. They're stuck in low-level states, trying to grind their way through everything, and that's exhausting. But when you're dialed in, when you own your state, you move with precision. You say no to the wrong things. You say yes with full power to the right ones. You stop running in circles. You start moving in straight lines. That's how results scale. That's how momentum builds, not by doing more, but by being more in the time you already have. When your state is off, 5 minutes of distraction becomes an hour of delay. A minor problem becomes a full-blown crisis. A single rejection knocks you out for days. But when your state is strong, none of that derails you. You respond instead of react. You act instead of overthink. You lead instead of follow, and you stop leaking your most valuable resource. Not your time, but your attention, because attention in the wrong state is wasted. But attention in the right state is a weapon. It cuts through the noise, it builds, it creates, it changes everything.